Yes, we are here and we have been patiently waiting for the opportunity to acknowledge our connection here. So it's like we just paused, waiting for the opportunity to be invited in. And so now we are here, we are present, we are of service. And so it is interesting today's questions that we know you're wanting to ask us. So we have many on board to be able to assist for you today.
Thank you. Welcome here. Now, we had a question about the 2012 shift and how it didn't happen. Dolores Cannon brought this up a few times. What can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Yes, and many people did perceive and understand and were preparing for certain shifts to occur. Of course, the information that was being gathered about this event in the 2012 was going to be a dimensional shift upon this planet. And so it was a split of dimensional vibration. And so the advancement of the people resonating at a higher frequency level, which would be a place literally just upon the third dimension of this planet, would have seen quite a different change for them. We could say an analogy, which we would hope other people would understand. It is like you being here in your bodies now in the 3D, and then that change and shift into being spirit, what you joke about and refer to as being ghosts. And so that dimension of being ghosts, even though they are alive, it's very similar. They would not have had to die to get into that fifth dimension on this planet. It is merely a vibrational shift on there. So we say this as an analogy so people can understand that there are departed loved ones that are around them often in their lives, observing and supporting them. You can't see them though. They have what they feel is an energetic body. And so you are oblivious in the 3D about those other dimensions that are just upon you and really very close to you. So most people are quite able to, they're able to function and focus on their 3D without being really disturbed too much with the other dimensions that are laid upon them. And so this was going to be something similar, not exact, for the shifting to the fifth dimension on this planet when it was going to take place. And there were many other options for and the opportunities for those people who had the frequency vibration enough to be able to step into the fifth dimension on this planet. You would not be able to see, however, the third dimension from the fifth dimension. You know that they are there, but it is like they have disappeared. And so it is very convoluted. It is very significant to understand that that was a very perfectly great example for humanity to shift into a fifth dimension while being on this planet. It was a beautiful evolutional step within and on this planet. It was profoundly important and significant for many things. And this had been planned for a long time to be able to see the shift of advancements in a planet, within the planet, on top of the planet. It is a challenge for people to understand because you are adding in the fun factors of time and perception and dimensions and frequency and energy and all the fun things that we love to talk about and try and give you information and understandings of. The shift did not happen at that time for many reasons. and the shift hadn't happened for other times previously and prior to all of those dates that you're aware of, because the humanity was not prepared enough to be able to make that shift. It is a big leap, a very big leap. As you know, Dolores Cannon has stated, when you are learning this information, you are spoon-fed the information because you're an infant in your spirituality wisdom. And then as you grow and evolve and advance, you get bigger pieces to the point where you're chewing on, we don't want to say animal products. So we're saying you're chewing on something that is advanced and complex for your digestion system to process, except we're not talking about food. And you know Dolores's analogy very well. She has mentioned it many times, and you're very fond of that because you understand and respect her so profoundly. So we're merely saying to you the reason why there hasn't been shifts prior is that there's still so many infants that are vibrating at a lower rate because the planet wasn't able to support and sustain high vibrational encouragement. You're all being very, very encouraged with the vibrations of the planet to focus and see everything that is coming up. It's so heightened. We say you're pressurized with this higher frequency because you are. The planet is giving you a marvelous gift, and so is all the galactics that are here to help and support you. And so it is a beautiful journey, and you can sense you're more prepared now, and energetically and emotionally and spiritually and physically than you were, or only even 5 months ago. So you keep advancing. We're not just talking about the person who is asking us these very important questions for you to understand and accept. Because we understand still there are many people who have heard the concepts about the shifting of the planets and the fifth dimension and the third dimension, and they feel that they understand it to somewhat of a degree, but they have not got the current perception of what is happening. And so it is an abacus of information. You don't know how to work the abacus. You're just spinning your hands around and letting the bright colored balls just flip and flop everywhere. And the spirituality, I'll understand it when I get there. It's too complicated. What's on social media? Where's the gossip today? So we're not trying to offend people, but you have to understand when many people are talking about shifts and different dimensions and giving you information about being prepared for a shift, it is not to scare you. It is not to peer pressure you into doing your inner work. There is no ploy here. This is literally giving you a wake-up call to be able to prepare you, because many people still act like they're never going to change their lives, that nothing is going to happen to them, maybe accidental death or something. But most people live and assume that they're going to live forever. And while the soul lives forever, people are living their daily lives like there is no urgency. Oh, I'll get to that next time. On my bucket list is this, do inner work. I must do it at some point. I'll tick off that on my list, which is very down the bottom. And the priorities of people's spiritual growth and spiritual work is really not in significant alignment and importance to what they think they should have and need. There are still many people that think that accumulating money is going to get them access to their spiritual growth. And many people think that if they have influences and friends and they follow others, that they will automatically get their spiritual growth. They're looking everywhere else but within themselves. Maybe it's time, very, very, very maybe, absolutely, 100% positively, it is time. It is well past time for everyone to take responsibility of their own inner work. And so we say back to the 2012 question you had for us, the leap and shifting into the dimension of the fifth would have been too tremendous on many were resisting. You have this lovely gift called free will and you use it, not so great in some regards. you don't realize the power that free will has on you. So many people disempower themselves by distracting themselves with their free will. And there is a lot of responsibilities to do your inner work. It is work, it is hard, it is not easy to identify the basis of what's actually triggering you and blocking you. It is so dimensional. There's so many different elements we could say and talk about, but we'll summarize by saying humanity wasn't ready for it. And this has been the case for the entire time. Humanity hasn't been ready for it. And so those people who are blaming us, oh, you told us this date, oh, what happened there? I'm a disbeliever. Well, look back at self and ask, what did you do to be a part of this evolutional shift? Did you doubt all of the way and then feel that you were justified when it didn't happen, to be like, look, see, I didn't do my inner work and I didn't shift. So therefore, those other dimensional beings, they're the ones that have I'm angry with them. They're not trustworthy. So can you see how so many people want to distract and reflect and blame others for what is really their own responsibility?
Oh, thank you for that. Well, I mean, like my thoughts was that it was just going to be like a consciousness kind of shift, like almost like a triggering event for people to start doing their work. That's all I could get out of it, but it's good to have this extra clarification and understanding of that.
It was always going to be the 1220, the 2012. It was always going to be a physical shift into dimensions of the fifth. So it always was going to be that. So many people just assumed that it was going to be something else. We understand so many people think that one event is suddenly going to switch on humanity's consciousness into the next gear, and everyone's waiting. Who's going to do it? Who's going to turn the switch on? Who's going to turn the switch on? And the reality is, humanity, you are supposed to turn the switch on. And it's each individual person's responsibility to be tuning on your own switch, doing your own inner work. The physical shift into fifth dimension on this planet was supposed to take place. It was all gearing up. Everyone was gearing up for that. And so it was never just merely a conscious shift. Where there has been adjustments in the consciousness, the last bigger conscious shift, just leap, expansion, from which is we are finally tuning up your vibration and frequency of this planet, which you are very connected to. So it is going to help you, assist you. So humanity was never able to just do it by itself. So we had to crank up the energy of the planet. And so with that support, you have been able to get more awareness and consciousness. And we say your 2018 was your last bigger leap into your consciousness. That was the biggest last conscious shift that you had. And that was significant because there was a lot of other things that happened to take away the density of this planet, which was, in summary, the removal of many bigger, larger beings who were pulling and dragging down humanity's collective consciousness.
So basically, you've told us and we've heard in the past that we're kind of like waiting on Gaia, and now for this current shift that's about to happen. So I guess the difference was waiting on us, but now it's kind of down to Gaia. Can you clarify that?
Because humanity has gone the slow, oh, so much slow, path to awakening, because the density is just, was at one point just doubling. The density of this planet was just doubling and doubling and doubling. And so we were realizing we needed a lot more effort and energy to be put in. We have been waiting for humanity. We had high hopes for humanity to be able to be responsible for listening to themselves and to do the things that serve them the most, to be able to be more loving, compassionate human beings to themselves and others. And so, yes, humanity is in a race, and they don't understand what. A race between the consciousness of Gaia choosing to use her free will. And so it has all been arranged. It would have been very chaotic if Gaia refused to have dealt with us, and to be able to have many conferences, conferences would have been, and is a very appropriate. Her spiritual team and all the spiritual teams of all the beings that are on this planet at this time needed to come together and have profound connections and respect and considerations for each other. And she is very patient and she's very tolerant, and there is much negotiations of support. It is there is the respect of this bigger consciousness of Gaia, and then humanity and the animal kingdoms and the botanics and everything else that is on this planet at the time. And so we are respecting all and balancing all, and we're trying to encourage still humanity to be able to help with this, and it is helping. They are helping. Humanity is helping. As soon as the collective got to a greater vibration, as soon as humanity's consciousness raised itself to a higher vibration to be able to help with the shift, that would have been fantastic. You've had many opportunities to do that together, many. But remember, cast back your mind to what happened just prior to the 2012, the 2011. And we know what imprints you have on 2011 and how that changed collectively your consciousness into something great, with great concern and vulnerability. And so we know that these shifts have occurred to cause great mayhem. These events that have happened before, where we were hoping to have caused and encouraged the shifts, something else has happened. Many people questioned as if the in quotation marks, that virus was part of the other agenda to distract humanity, to cause fear. And yes, of course, it did cause fear. And we saw that opportunity as something we could use. And the lockdowns were profound gifts to humanity as you were to go within profoundly. And while you were afraid of something else, feel and be encouraged and inspired to protect yourself emotionally and physically by thinking and feeling for yourself, and not having so much peer pressure from your routines of daily life that consumed you and distracted you from anything else, including yourself. And so, the routine of work is so, people respect their work and their positions and their work more than their own lifestyles, their own health balances. Life is supposed to be about balance. And when you have a disconnect in any way with balance, and there's always that disharmony, which always can just ripple out into many other issues. We have been sidetracked, and we apologize. We want to say back to the shift that was going to be on the 2020 shift in the December. That was a prime, perfect opportunity for all the humanitarians to come together. They had almost 8 months to be able to bond together with themselves, with communities, to be able to improve humanity's consciousness and be able to share and enjoy the ascension to transcend into the higher realm. And this was a beautiful opportunity, and many people did grow. Unfortunately, while humanity is being told constantly sharing is caring, many of you were not able to share your own spiritual journey with others, and it was hard. As many people wanted to grow with their friends, and this was hard as you were so disconnected from your work and your friends and your families because of the lockdowns. We wanted to reach out to your friends and families more with your spiritual journey, but so many people already triggered with so much, many missed opportunities of growth with spirituality. It seemed that many people were stuck in fear profoundly and just consumed, obsessed with the virus information. And so they put all of the energy into that fear. And those who managed to get out of it discovered something else, the crimes against humanity, which is another thing to overcome emotionally and spiritually see things from the bigger perspective, which will get you unstuck from that. And so we want to say that the 2020 year was like a very long sprint race with many physical hurdles. And this is why everyone's quite exhausted and tired now, because they've just had all these lifetimes here on earth. And then 2020 happened. And those who took the opportunity to go at their own pace, meeting the hurdle and striding with leaps and bounds and grace over that hurdle, to take more steps, to find their other one, and to be able to bound through that. Regardless of what the race speed is, everyone's on a different path, but hoping that if everyone could support each other, it would be a group event rather than something else. And so we want to say that those who mastered the 2020 year by seeing all of the waves that came to them emotionally and processed them and unpacked them, and they're now more open to so much more information, more than ever before. So these bonus months, as we have so fondly termed them, as since your January 2021, you have advanced even more. Thinking about each month as being a very big advancement in your vibration, as the information is now coming out more readily. And as you are applying the information and processing it with bigger perspective and respecting the metaphysical perspectives, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. Many people can see their journey that was very appropriate and significant. And if you think back to how you feel today versus how you were in that 2012, you will know that it was such a different frequency, that's such a different mindset. We're not saying you're part of the problem why humanity didn't shift, but it was just now you're all responsible. If you've been listening to the sessions we have been providing for you, you are responsible to apply the information. And we say that with much love because we honor those who have been, and we see all who have. And we are always there to support those who have been.
Thank you. And so I'm aware that you've touched on some of these things before, like the lockdowns. Can you just remind us, like, the purpose of that, and talk about, because you're saying that it's, they're trying to put people in fear and stuff like that, but the real purpose of the lockdowns was what exactly?
From our perspective, they were gifts. It was putting you in some time out, not the naughty corner or anything with that. It was not a punishment, it was a gift, an opportunity for you to stop your routines and to be able to think in the safety and comfort of your own home with your family, what really matters in life. We were wanting you to question everything, your health, your work. It went on for so long, you had to question what really serves you. So we removed all of the routines because we were trying to get people prepared for the shift to New Earth, knowing that the systems there are very different. And so we are trying to give people a different perspective of money, of their careers, of their identities, of their responsibilities to serve others. There was so much that you could take away and learn from those experiences. And so this was and still is being used to give people the opportunities to see things more clearly, while also noticing and maybe smelling some, what people would say, and this is very naughty, bullshit. And so when you're listening and watching media that is contradicting itself on a very regular basis, it is to awaken you to start questioning the stories and narrative that you have been provided. So it was lockdowns to start getting everyone seeking the real truth and being open and having the time, the luxury of time. You didn't get to have holidays where you could explore a new destination. You got to have a holiday on your couch, reflecting on where you want to research some truth from. It was forcing people to start questioning, and with everyone having the internet access, having all of that at your fingertips, many people did start doing more research and sharing. And once you realize that the reason why your governments were saying for you to be in a lockdown did not make any real sense, and there was flaws in the illusion of the fear, that was a great starting point for other people to start questioning, well, what else? If this is porkies, if this is not the truth, because I'm not sensing that this is the truth somehow, what else could we be lied to about? And so this is just awakening for many to start questioning what they've been told, and encouraged to believe. So it was a part of awakening humanity at the most profound level. But of course, what some people view as really hard and horrible, we have quite often a different perspective, because we can see what actually happens there. We can see some people spending their entire lockdowns in terror, absolute terror, because of something that is invisible that may get them. And so they're using their free will to approach it that way. Maybe in the state of terror, they've had to think about other things. And so it is all a personal journey to experience all of the emotions that are coming up under certain situations.
Okay, thanks for just putting that reminder out there. And what about the collective consciousness? Like, where's that kind of standing at the moment with all of this, and how is everyone kind of doing?
It's we want to say, for the people who can't imagine what the collective consciousness looks like or is, we want to say it is a very, very, very large cloud. And so with each droplet of mist that comprises that cloud, that is one being. And so this is a very, very, very large cloud. And we want to say at the bottom of the cloud, there is some heavy, grumpy looking essences that are very fed up and frustrated. And they are the heavier ones that are hanging out on this cloud. And that's just that bottom layer that you notice when you look up at the cloud and you think, oh, is it going to rain? Should I bring my washing in? It's that kind of angry, grumpy. And then you sort of look out beyond that level of the grumpiness. And then there is like a softer version of gray that's kind of, I'm a little bit dense, but I'm sort of floating a little bit, but I'm okay. And then you've got that middle layer of the cloud that's just in perfect balance and harmony. And it's that pure white that is comfortable being who it is. It's looked down at that darker realm of that grumpiness, and it is okay. It doesn't need to be there. It knows how exhausting it is being that heavy bottom part of the cloud. So it's quite comfortable being in that balance of neutral. And then you get that exuberant, super fine mist that is all effervescent and almost sparkly, almost the bubbles in soda. It is just zippy and alive and electric. And so that's on the top of the cloud, and it's got rainbows through it, and it is just supporting and encouraging and lifting up the whole cloud to basically where you look out at the cloud, there is just a beautiful rainbow of all of the magical colors in the world and beyond. That rainbow is connecting to us, and we're there holding humanity's consciousness and supporting it, watching it all. And we're saying that didn't answer your question, but we want you to ask yourself in any sort of given day, where do you feel like you are a part of that cloud? You can be all of them in one day. That is not a problem. There is no judgment there. But it is about you knowing that you can have the choices of being that darker, very moody, broody energy of heaviness and density, or are you going to choose to be the rainbow essence color that is just love and light and feeling so carefree and happy to be part of it all, happy to be connected, loving it all, and being very grateful to be there. And so that is, in a very interesting summary, what is the collective humanity consciousness right now? It's a mixture of everything, but it's all together. And in one way or another, it is balancing out each other and supporting each other as you move constantly through the cloud yourself.
Yeah. And I guess being consciously aware of like where you are yourself in the majority of the time, what part of that cloud you're in, and try and get to a better place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we want to say you do not need the map of how to navigate through the cloud. You are not in a big museum where you have to ask for help to find where the next room is. You can organically, naturally flow through that cloud. You make the choices. There is nothing blocking you from being one range to the other. And so you put down that map, put down other people's directions of how to get there. Oh, you want to be happy and sparkly? Oh, well, all you need to do is just love yourself. When you are feeling so frustrated because you don't love yourself, you don't know how to love yourself, you don't feel all of these things, and you're feeling very frustrated. And so listening to other people find their joy and sparkle and zest may just make you even more frustrated because you don't know what is blocking you. And so the reality is when you're in that position where you're completely lost and you don't know how to get out of this, someone must be doing this to me. I must have a dark entity attached to me. I just know it because I can't get out of this. Those kind of behaviors and approaches to this, they're still not seeing their power in their belief of where they are. They're blaming negative entities. They're saying I can't do what this other person's saying. They're comparing other people to themselves. It is about looking and being 100% honest with you. Many people feel very comfortable with using spirituality names and assuming where they're at. It is ego that must be balanced first. If your ego is out of balance, you're going to assume a whole lot of incorrect things because your ego is getting in the way. And so this is very hard for some people to navigate out through the ego. And you can only do this yourself because you can see your behavior, your reactions, and you have to be responsible for self. That is a given. No one person, not your best friend, not husbands or wives, not your children, not your pets, not your bank account, nothing will be able to give you inner love and peace and be able to work on your inner self than you. It is a given.
That's right. Thank you for that. It's a very good and powerful message.
We feel like we're getting grumpy, like those darker parts of the cloud, and we are not grumpy. Really, we are so passionate with unconditional love that we see those people who are in the darker clouds looking at everyone else and feeling more darker, more lost, more alone. And they feel like, why aren't you helping me? Why aren't you helping me? And the reality is, no one can help you until you start helping yourself. And that is about truth to yourself, understanding and questioning, why do I behave like that? Why do I feel like that? Why am I reacting like that? Is going to give you such great clarity. But you must be willing to be honest with yourself. And when people don't want to be wrong, and when people don't want to realize that their bad behavior is because of insecurities, because of lack of love of self, because of some bad choices that they don't want to forgive themselves over, there's a whole lot of reasons why people don't want to empower themselves. And this is sad for us. So we're so motivated to say, we will always love you. You are always loved. And we want you to love yourselves. And that is so important. You must start doing that work.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, everyone needs to do their inner work, all right? And especially if they want to go back to New Earth.
Well, yes, it is a good motivator, but we want to say that we shouldn't dangle this beautiful cupcake towards you, saying you can eat all you want and you won't get a muffin top. Oh, this feels very funny for the vehicle to say that. We do not want to dangle this paradise, this heaven, to motivate you through your marathon of life. Because we know you're very exhausted and very weary, and we're at the end cheering you on. We've got your name on our t-shirts, and we've got balloons and flowers, and we're waiting for all the selfies to post on social media as soon as you run across that finishing line of self-empowerment and self-love and unconditional love to yourself and others. Like, we are so excited about that, but not because you then go to New Earth, because it's all about that self-empowerment, because you can approach so much once you get that self-empowerment. Yes, New Earth is fantastic. You'll love it. You'll enjoy it. But mastering this dimension and still doing your inner work and mastering that is the cherry on the top for this planet. Because you don't go to 5D just to work on this stuff that you're struggling with now. It is a different game, a different game, a different game. It's a greater game, it is a better game, but you want to get this game here on this planet, on this dimension, all wrapped up in a perfect bow, and you want to graduate with everything being mastered. And we have given you time and time again keys to how to master that. And we are excited because we have seen many people that have empowered themselves through our words.
Yeah, and I love the way that you've just put that and explained that and given us the example. But I mean, like, realistically, not everyone's going to get to that place, are they?
The place of New Earth because of their contracts, or the place of self-empowerment and inner love because they've released all the nonsense that they are limiting themselves with?
The self-empowerment, that place.
Well, many people are ignoring their spiritual teams. Many people are refusing to feel that they are valuable and worthy of this empowerment. But the ironic thing is, most of the people who have the biggest ego, who feel like they deserve New Earth because they just am, those people have not done any of their inner work, to be honest with themselves, because they're coming from an entitlement place versus a humbled, journey and honesty and empowerment of self. And so we see that there are two races going on. Those who have a big ego, who don't want to humble themselves to gain spirituality because they think they've beaten the system. But the reality is they've only beaten the 3D system of money, loving, entitlement, and all of that stuff that 3D is enticing you to think is important. And then you have the other spectrum of those people with the small egos who are realizing that doesn't matter what money or power or anything that was given to them, they would still not feel worthy of it. And so they're learning to have self-empowerment through loving themselves and empowering themselves to feel worthy, to feel deserving, to be connected to themselves, to be able to connect with others. So it is almost like, we want to say, if you've come into this lifetime with a big ego, you've got a bigger challenge because you've got to break down yourself to be able to build yourself up. Whereas those who have chosen this lifetime with a smaller ego only need to build themselves up. And this is the, we want to say a word that we can't pronounce. It is fine.
Okay. Thanks for that. So I guess
we say
what's that?
We say that the people who have the bigger egos, they are holding on to the bigger egos because of their insecurities, and they want to impress others, and they should be trying to impress themselves with integrity and morals. And so this is a very challenging time because they still have this belief system of profound self, but it is not, it is they're holding the gold star, but they haven't done any of the work to achieve the gold star. And so we hope that these analogies will be considered upon by many who do listen.
Yeah. Yeah, don't be so worried about what everyone else is thinking and where you should be.
If you're trying to do things for the attention of others, you have a lot of inner work to do.
Yeah.
So it's about motives, questioning yourself for everything you're doing and asking, why am I truly doing this? Why do I feel this way? What am I truly doing when I say this or write that? Actions speak louder than words. And so when you're trying to impress people with your written word, then don't be upset when people know the integrity of what you're trying to say to them.
Yeah. Thank you for those enlightening comments and information there. I guess we'll move on to a similar topic, but regarding the shift, the one in 1976. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, it was a time of bigger change and open change. You had thinking about what humanity was doing. It was about opening up the more of the free love, what people call the hippie generation. It was to continually move on that compassionate state. But then that there were other wars that continued on into the 70s. Which then again manipulated humanity into a darker time. We were concerned that there was going to be more bigger bombs that were going to profoundly impact. And you know that there were bigger bombs that were occurring. There is not such good things that come from war, except from challenges of the emotional extremes. And most of humanity has been in one war or another throughout its entire existence. Once you feel like you started to get advanced, you started competing against each other for land and for status and power. It's the same situation time and time again. It just looks different, has different names, and it is still the same. It's still very much the same. So in the late 1970s, there was going to be a bigger shift in consciousness to be able to keep that open-mindedness and be connected more to the frequency of higher dimensional love and wisdom. And so we want to say this is when the significant second waivers came through to help. They were planted firmly on this planet to be able to raise the vibrations. They were the light bearers. They came down with a bigger burden of feeling so deeply compassionate for humanity. Because when you are connected to the bigger dimensional beings and frequencies, it's impossible for you not to have profound compassion for humanity, because your empathic skills are set on high. The emotions that sit very firmly in the density of this planet is one that is so unique because of its intensity. It is consuming. And we want to say that every range of emotion and the darker is this. The higher emotions, unconditional love, is like that cotton candy. It is like that beautiful crystalline rainbow at the top of collective consciousness's cloud. So cotton candy is it's just so light and just so exciting to have little whispers of it, and it's just completely terrible for sugar content, but it's that excitement of having the first little bit of it, and it's just magical as it just disappears into the mouth. And then as you go through the ranges of emotions, we want to say neutral. We could say neutral is water, and you're consuming water. You have the power to choose to enhance that water or to not enhance that water, but it is neutral. And then we want to say into the deeper, denser feelings that you have. Oh, we want to go back to water and say, when you have water, when you have neutrality, when you have balance, it completes you. It fulfills you. You're hungry, I have a glass of water. So we're going back to the denser energies now and say, jealousy, insecurities, all of those heavier stuff. It is like you're dipping your whole body, and we want to say this for amusement, into a big pool of chocolate, but now we're going to say mud, because some people would say, yes, please, that would give me my greatest joy to be dipped in a big pool of chocolate. So we're going to say, no, not chocolate today. It will be mud, and it's yucky and horrible and gritty and actually smelly. And so you will immerse yourself so deeply in this negative emotions that only your nose is just poking out, and it's consuming you, and a little bit's got in your mouth, and you're just miserable, but you cannot see how to get out of this big pool of mud, which is like quicksand to your soul. And so we have completely distracted ourselves with that analogy. So pardon us, we will gain our composure. But where were we going with that? Emotions. Balancing your emotions is so important. And being in control of it, and knowing that you are capable of moving in any which way direction that as you please. We have completely sidetracked. Another collective is coming in to want to speak as well. So we apologize to the questionnaire.
That's fine. But someone else wanted to say something?
Yes, the timelines between for the shift, the second wave volunteers, we realized that the first waivers were extraordinarily challenged. This was a great concern, and we knew we needed to do something that was very intense. The planet itself and the souls on the planet who needed the support and help, the first waivers came and they weren't as successful. The planet before the first waivers came was so dense, it got a lot of beings' attention. And so this is why you had the first waivers. We want everyone to understand this, because this has not been covered before. When the first waivers started struggling, we knew we were in trouble, because those were big beans. It was like you put your best men forward, and when they struggle, we knew we had a problem. We knew it was much worse than we ever had calculated or could comprehend. We are not these dense beings ourselves. We did not know that most of humanity was stuck in mud pools up to their nostrils. And we realized we needed more help. We needed more help. And so the plans to be able to ask and seek and find the second wave volunteers was very important. And we needed to help so much that we realized it was urgent. And so this got our greatest attention, was when the density and the pain that we could feel for Earth and its occupants was one thing, but when you put your all-stars onto the planet and then they are feeling the pain, the ripple effect of the pain now was, I want to say, unbearable. And it was, we were so distraught. And so the second wavers came, and they had to protect themselves. So they were very sensitive to emotions and energy, and they could not be distracted and taken offline. They could not have some of the things that we realized disarmed the first wavers. And so the second wave came, and they still struggled because they had to be part of society, even though they wanted to be hermits forever and a day. And so they could be there, they could be physically here, energetically helping humanity, but they didn't actually want anything to do with humanity while they are here of service. And so many people feel antisocial, or they feel like outcasts, and they feel bad about that. But the reality is, it makes common sense when you hear from us why. And so it needed to be a bigger shift. We had hoped that all of the second wave volunteers that jumped on this planet could have helped support that. And it did. It was a conscious shift. It was a better opening of emotions. It was as much as, it was a positive as much as it could be positive in a very dense situation. And so we hope that we have explained that. But it is still ongoing for us. We still have this problem. We still want to find the solutions to be able to help liberate humanity. And so we have sent more waves of volunteers to help. But it is, we want to say, when you see all of your big supporting swimmers jump into the pool of humanity and this planet, and they sink, and they are in that mud of stench and disgust, and they're struggling, you're not so keen to jump on board in there. You were saying, I will be a lifeguard, and I'll throw you a helpline, but I will sit on the sidelines. And so many of the beings who are here in this conversation today are saying, we want to sit in the sidelines. We are here. We are not just sunbathing while we're watching you nearly drown. We are still helping the best way we can, because we don't think, seeing who has failed, and failed is a not the right word, because it's a collective, not individuals. So no one individually has failed. We want to make that clear. But many have gone off purpose and off track and off mission, because you can be a big light bearer, but when you're overwhelmed and you buy into the negativity, you're then holding more negativity, and you're holding more of the muck. So when you come in with a bigger energetic field, being online and of service is going to be profound, not just for you. And so if you want to know our secret agenda, is when you empower yourself, you then empower thousands more by just being in that higher frequency. So we don't want to put pressure on you, but we also do, because this is more than just yourself at stake to help humanity.
That's right. Thank you. So is there anything else you'd like to tell us about that, or the 1976 shift that we need to know about?
Once the pregnancies were occurring, then their energetic fields were starting to be immersed into the planet. And so this was very significant and important. And we just want people to see the bigger picture and perspective from our position, while not being too distracted by it, knowing we're doing the best we can. But when we can't physically pull people out of that pull, we can't go in there, grab you and drag you out physically as much as we would like. And we need people to realize they're in the pool. And we want to say this analogy. Instead of thinking of it as a big Olympic-sized swimming pool, we want to say it's a paddling pool. And people are laying down fully in it. And we're saying, if you just stood up, you'd realize that this pool is not consuming you. You're approaching it that way. Your position and perspective of laying down in the pool seems like it is nearly consuming you. But the reality is it's just merely a few inches of water. So stand up for yourselves, stand up for humanity, stand up for your truth, stand up for your respect of self being here, because your contracts here are to be of service to help humanity while being able to do love for self. You can't be that humanitarian that you all want to be until you have stepped over your blocks in profoundly respecting and loving self. And we feel like we have said this many times, but we understand that people listen to us, but then when they get the opportunity to have applications of the information we provide, there is that disconnect. And so we say, find any way you can to be able to scratch out what is still holding you back. Whether it is journaling or having conversations or just thinking, find your moral compass of who you are and why you are doing all the things you are doing. Be accountable for your actions and start every day anew, fresh. Do not think about the past choices that you are not so proud of. Keep going with the choices that do make you proud. You know if you're off path. You know the lessons. You know it. Accept, focus on it, and take responsibility.
Yeah, thank you. And before you were talking about sending extra waves of volunteers, how many waves are there going to have to be sent to us before we are able to shift?
Yeah. Go to the beach and tell us how many waves you see in the ocean. And then count all the sand. No, that has been very dark and gloomy cloud parts. And so, no, sunshines and rainbows, thank you. And so we're doing the best we can. Lots of people who are just not able to advance the bigger beings who hold a lot of capacity for energy. If they're too in the negative, they've been asked to be life contracted out. there is just no possible way for them to do it. So they either have a walk-in, but maybe their density is still just too tremendous. So lots of people have an exit points to be able to remove that density from the planet. But remembering it's not just the occupants that are holding that density. The planet itself has that density of the negative emotions and energy. It's just that going back to the analogy of the mudded pool, we want to say the whole planet now is this muddy pool, and you're all trying to paddle yourselves up into the higher dimensions of perspective. So it's really most beings now that have been born have got higher frequency. Many people who are having walk-ins and walk-out situations, they're coming in with an embodied of a higher frequency spark. Depends on the energetics of the body. You cannot. It is. We want to say it's like a battery, but then it may not. You cannot. It's a conversion. You must have like for like, and so there's complications there. You're wanting to know if there is a specific waves. You know that Dolores Cannon has coined the phrase the 3 waves of volunteers, and we want to say that there is the 4th wave that has been happening recently, but we don't call them the 4th wave. On your spiritual CV when you're writing up the things I did when I was on Earth, you will not label 4th wave volunteer. You will say of service and duty to this fun planet that you're all residing in and have all written, and you're very brave for it. So congratulations, we honor you, and this is why we love you so much with our unconditional love. It is important to get even the tough love that you feel from us sometimes. It is about helping you get unstuck. And sometimes people don't need love and compassion given to them to be able to find out what's happening. They need to be triggered. So when you're being triggered by us, there is a beautiful opportunity for figuring out what's going on there. We have distracted ourselves with your question about waves. And so there is still volunteers coming down. And this is important. You may have heard that there are many pregnancies that don't go to full term. That is just those essences lending their frequency. It is going well. We don't see the need to have more big volunteers coming in because there is so much urgency and important now that we are focusing on. There's so much attention on this planet right now. We're saying if you get that sense you're being watched, you are, because we are watching all of you intensely, encouraging you and inspiring you to see the synchronicities, the blessings and joys that have this life, to be able to make you smile, for you to feel that special part of that higher effervescence of the cloud, which is basically rainbow and jazz in the entire day. So we hope that this has helped you, because we understand you like to be able to follow in the footsteps of Dolores and be able to label things as 4th waves. And we say that the new wave of volunteers that have come in are to help, and we are on track. Nothing is going to delay us. This has been so urgent. We cannot turn our backs. Every bit of attention is focused on this planet right now, moving forward. So you can trust that we have learnt along the way. We have observed the 1st wavers, the 2nd wavers, the 3rd wavers, and the beings who are of the final wave to help. We have learnt so much. So we feel very confident in knowing exactly what must happen and what is about to happen and how it is all on track.
Thank you for the message there. So moving forward, there was a session where someone was told there was 3 new Earths and 10 years before the shift. What can you tell us about that?
Some people like to have 5 and 10-year plans. And so for that person, they had a 15 and 20-year plan for their lives. So when they were told that the shift would happen in 10 years, they realized that they actually needed to start adjusting some of their hopes and dreams and eventuations. And so it was a shock to them because they assumed that they've got 50 years still up their sleeves. And when you suddenly cut down someone's opportunity for this lifetime, to explore everything, that puts them on a new perspective. And so it was giving them this first baby those first few spoonfuls of information. They're not ready to hear about the true timeline of when the shift is going to happen for them, because it's too triggering. And so you have a breathing space. Okay, something is happening in 10 years. Okay, not urgent. Then, okay, so I'm going to prioritize my life for the next 10 years. And so it is about us making them focus their lives smaller time frame for them to be able to get their heads around it. They don't have to live those 10 years of life to be able to be emotionally and physically prepared for it. And so it is very important for them to have that. So you are not told any more than you can handle in your own sessions. And so that is what the client and practitioner could handle. So that is significant. And yes, it is very true. There is a few options for 3D alternatives for people who do need to live out more 3D lives without experiencing the destruction of the planet. Remembering we're wanting to honor you and your life contracts and all the missions that you need to do to learn and advance from, but you cannot do it when this planet has begun her reincarnation cycle. And so this is finding placements for those people who need to have simulation lives to live out that scenario. And so we would also want to say that when the planet shifts, when humanity shifts, we should say, so those people who are going to be on what you know is called the old Earth, we want to coin that also the new Earth, because it will be new for this Earth. It will be when the shift happens, everything's going to change so profoundly that those here will have a new Earth experience on Earth. However, those who have moved off, they either go to other 3D planets or go to what we call that new planet, which is also termed that new Earth. And so Earth is a reference for this planet. So it's a name thing. People get stuck up on names. You know that the consciousness of this planet is called Gaia. And this is what she does prefer to call herself. And so when Gaia shifts from this body to then the new planet that she wants to embody, she has her own new name that she would like to be referred to as, because she wants to respect her personal growth. And her fifth dimensional growth is what she wants to resonate with that name. And so there is many things going on there. And that session was a very important big spoon for their spiritual processes of understanding the new Earth and the other planets. So it's given that practitioner curiosity to advance and explore more, but they must focus, because they take the information with a grain of salt. And so it's there is no attachment to the importance and significance that have been provided for her in sessions. And so it is kind of to respect this work profoundly, you must respect all that is given, because it's each individual client's truth of that moment. And when you take it with a grain of salt, you're not recalling and putting significance and importance into those sessions. Therefore, the questions you have, because you're taking it with just a grain of salt, you're not expanding and scratching into those bigger concepts and questions. If you are approaching sessions this way as a practitioner, this is not a thirst or curiosity that Dolores would even approach. You know, she was always wanting more information and understanding it all and accepting all, and not disrespecting any information as if it is a grain of salt.
Thank you for providing that information for us. And
just wanted to say,
yeah.
Just wanted to say that practitioner is confused because so many people get different information in sessions, because she does not understand the old earth, the new earth, the other planets and all this stuff. So she thinks it's all just whatever fairy fanciful land information comes out of sessions. She can't see the bigger picture that's right in front of her. And so there is just a little bit of disconnect of the significance and importance of this work and how it all actually unfolds. And there's no criticism, but we just want to say to practitioners who are doing this work so diligently, you're so close, you do this work, why not do it with full passion and conviction and integrity and honor, versus then just not really caring about the information and not applying it and not getting your stuff to see things in the most clarity and be able to trust that we're here to help answer you, to be able to provide all the information that you're still struggling to understand. This is a very powerful, significant work that humanity has a tool of. And we do get confused when people play with this tool as if it is that confusing abacus, which you don't know what to do with.
Yeah. Thank you for that, and I'm sure this is all helping everyone that gets to hear it. Can we send out like an energy broadcast or signal to everyone that is out there, and just to help them kind of do their inner work and help everyone to move forward with themselves and doing their work, and also help us on the shift and everything, and help Gaia, and also that everyone that listens to this to be able to put out that same thought of energy for everyone, and just kind of trigger everyone to really do their work and make a difference in their life and everyone else's.
Yes, absolutely. And we do this often and always. And we wanted to add humor into here and saying, did you want us to go around and smack the bottoms of the naughty children that are not doing their inner work so they know?
Well, I mean, I don't expect you to do that, but if that's what it takes. But
no. Against their free will, and we're just joking because
yeah,
it is very frustrating for you, and it is very frustrating for us to see these people who continually disempower themselves to not be of service, who continually take the energy from the collectives, who, when you see that cloud, and when they just keep being that darker version, that grumpier layer of the cloud, that pulls everyone down. They are oblivious to their own responsibilities, their own energy. They don't see that them refusing to do their inner work, refusing to take on that responsibility and being grumpy about it is bringing down everybody. And again, we don't want to use peer pressure, but, you know, are you comfortable This is why we say with your moral compass, are you comfortable holding down humanity when you know this information? When you know about spirituality, when you know that everything's purposeful, and yet you're still buying into the drama of the 3D, still buying into materialism and popularity and all of that stuff that does not serve you.
Yeah. And that reminds me of something from school or kindergarten here, and it's like a book, and they talk about filling your bucket. And it's kind of relates to doing your inner work, like, are you filling your own bucket, or are you dipping into someone else's bucket to try and fill yours, so
Yes.
yeah.
And are you holding many people's buckets, and are you exhausted?
Yeah.
Everyone must have their own bucket. Everyone must be responsible of collecting whatever you want to add into that bucket to have self-empowerment. And so it is your duty and responsibility to do positive things that make you love yourself and feel proud of yourself into that bucket. And so what do you have in your bucket at the moment? What have you been doing that you can say, I love myself for these things? Because people keep thinking, I have to love myself of the past. And we're saying, look at a daily bucket. Empty your bucket each day. Every day you have a new opportunity to fill things that you love about yourself and are proud of yourself in that bucket. It's a daily chore. It is a daily thing. If you have to get yourself into a good routine of filling positive things into your bucket so you can be a good person, so you can finally love yourself, take it that approach.
Yeah. I guess that's all I've got right now. Is there any other messages that you have for us? Anyone else?
Yes, we understand that the 3D life is very dense and heavy, and you do have a lot on your plate, and we are trying to help you. And so many people who get triggered by us and our perspective and observations and trying to give you tool sets to be able to master it, they don't like being told what to do. And there is a good reason for you to look at your ego and see if it is in balance. We do feel someone feeling very frustrated that we are not saying you are sparkles and rainbows. And so they're getting into that grumpy cloud feeling again. And they're feeling the pressure of us. And so they are turning into that grumpy cloud. And we are saying, this is what we are talking about the entire time. Choose to be that joyful being that you want. It is so important, and you have more responsibilities than just yourself. And we can see the human consciousness very clearly. We can see all the actions that people take, and while it is a collective movement, it is also a individual responsibility. And you're all part of something. You're all part of it. So if those people who feel alone and those people who feel not respected or supported, everyone who has got to be those sparkles and rainbows at the top of the cloud have had to work their way through it. There is no elevator. There is no cheating the system. It is hard work to process it. And when you resist it, it's the hardest. And when you go with the flow and understand it and have responsibility of being honest with yourself and really truly reflecting it, it will be incredibly easier. We understand where you're at. We do. And we have great compassion and love for you, where you're at. But we also know the bigger picture here. And this is why we're giving you this intensive, hard love conversation. But we also see the joyful people who are dancing and having fun. with their rainbow colors. On top of that cloud, just feeling so happy that they have made it because they have been all parts of that cloud. And so they don't need our encouragement and praise and support really, because they have it for themselves. And that's the difference. So we love you all. There is so much excitement to come, especially when you take responsibility and choose to be that effervescence top fancy rainbow cloud.
Thank you. And I know there are many others with us today. Is there anyone else that wants to come in and say anything, speak to us, give any messages?
There has been said a lot in this session. And so we just want to confirm that everything has been said in the most appropriate ways for you to learn and grow from, and different perspectives. We know that some people have grown and they can be reminded of their own journey. And this is important. Never forget how much work you have done to get to exactly where you are. That gives you a sense of great joy. We always know that you feel like there is a never-ending marathon ahead of you. And so when you're feeling a little bit exhausted, like there is no ending, please take a moment to think how far you've come. That is very significant and important. We do, and we have been highly pressurizing those who are slowing down and wanting to take a very slow pace, almost stagnant pace of their spiritual growth because of various reasons. So they are feeling very heavily pressurized to look at things. They will have the most struggle and resistance to growth. They need to have some distance from others to be able to be of service to self. So much is going on, too much to process here. You do not need to worry about all the ins and outs of everything in any degree, because your focus is you spending your days filling your bucket, and trusting that everything around you is to be able to help give you credit or content or whatever to provide into that bucket, to fill that bucket. So relax, don't worry about all the other noise that's going on in the background. Seek and search and look for those opportunities to be able to fulfill your bucket. So when you go to bed at night and when you're asking for us to heal your body, upgrade your body, and release everything that no longer serves you, you can say to us and acknowledge all those things that you have done to fulfill your bucket. We appreciate this, and we will enjoy this conversation with you very much.
Thank you so much for giving us this information, and we send you much love and light, and you're always with us, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. And we just want to say that we're working just as hard as everyone on earth who is working. And so we understand it is pressurized. We understand a lot is at stake here. And so we do not simply just sit back and say, hurry up, humanity, get on with it. We're also doing everything we can on this side. So this is why we have the confidence to get a push onto those who are still stuck, because we're doing everything we can, and we are asking you to do all that you can. And we say this with love.